I was 8 months pregnant, and I honestly believed my baby shower would be one of the happiest days of my life. My best friend had spent weeks decorating the house. There were balloons, flowers, tiny baby clothes hanging on strings, a table filled with gifts. My husband Daniel couldn't stop smiling. For the first time in months, everything felt peaceful. Even his mother looked different. She walked in carrying a beautifully wrapped gift. She hugged me, kissed my cheek, and whispered, "I'm so happy for you." I remember thinking, maybe everything had finally changed. Maybe she had finally accepted me. I couldn't have been more wrong. Throughout the afternoon, something felt strange. People smiled, but their smiles disappeared the moment I looked away. My cousins stopped talking whenever I walked into the room. My aunt barely looked at me. Even my closest friends seemed uncomfortable. I kept asking Daniel, "Did I do something wrong?" He shook his head. "No, you're imagining things." But I wasn't. As the party continued, guests started leaving much earlier than expected. Some didn't even say goodbye. One by one, they disappeared. By evening, the house was almost empty. I stood in the kitchen, surrounded by unopened gifts, trying not to cry. That's when my older sister finally pulled me aside. She looked terrified. She asked, "Is it true?" I frowned. "Is what true?" She hesitated, then quietly said, "Everyone's saying the baby might not be Daniel's." I felt like the room disappeared beneath me. I couldn't breathe. "What are you talking about?" She looked down. "Daniel's mother told everyone weeks ago. She said Daniel asked her not to tell anyone because he was waiting for a DNA test." My legs gave out. I sat on the floor. I couldn't even cry. I just stared at the wall. Someone had destroyed the happiest day of my pregnancy before it had even started. Daniel heard everything. He turned pale. Without saying a word, he grabbed his keys and left. 40 minutes later, he came back alone. His face looked different, like something inside him had finally broken. He sat beside me, held my hand, and said, "It was Mom." I asked every single person. They all heard it from her. I whispered, "Why?" He didn't answer, because there wasn't an answer that made sense. The next morning, his mother showed up at our house. She smiled like nothing had happened. She carried another gift. I forgot to give this to the baby. Daniel didn't even let her step inside. He stood in the doorway, holding the unopened gift. She laughed awkwardly. "What's wrong?" He looked straight into her eyes. "You lied to everyone." She rolled her eyes. "I was only protecting my son." He slowly handed the gift back. "You weren't protecting me. You were trying to destroy my wife." She crossed her arms. "I knew she'd turn you against me." Daniel shook his head. "No, you did that yourself." For the first time in his life, he closed the door while his mother was still standing outside. She kept knocking, calling his phone, leaving voicemails. He never answered. 3 weeks later, our daughter was born, healthy, perfect. When I held her, I realized something. Family isn't the people who demand a place in your life. Family is the people who protect your peace. A month later, Daniel changed our locks, blocked every number she used, and mailed back every gift she sent. Inside the last package, he placed one handwritten note, just one sentence. "You didn't ruin one party. You lost a family." She never met our daughter, not because we hated her, but because some people confuse control with love, and if you let them, they'll destroy every happy moment until you believe you don't deserve happiness at all. The hardest lesson I learned wasn't how to survive a toxic mother-in-law. It was realizing that the person who truly loves you will never ask you to compete for a place in their heart.